Ladies and gentlemen, prospects, clients, fans, and friends out there, welcome back. We're doing another episode. This is, I'm calling it episode 2 of the full Prophet CRM demonstration. Very hands on today. We're going to be focused on how to do things, a little bit about why we do things. But key component is first of all, by way of introduction, I guess I should start with that. My name is Warren Stokes. I'm the director of sales at Avidian Technologies. I also help a lot of folks learn more about Profit or take a look at Profit for the first time and evaluate it. But in any event, I'm ready to get started. I'm going to cover some concepts very briefly through my slide deck here, but we'll spend almost all of our time actually showing you how to do stuff. Feel free to use the chat control panel if you want to ask questions. I'll get to as many of those as I can, and I will post full contact information at the end of today's program. The first thing we're going to talk about is contact and account management. And that'll have a lot of aspects of creating data, creating contacts, creating company data. We're going to cover sales pipeline management and get into some reporting and analytics to kind of make sense of it all. Basically get useful insight out of the CRM. Many of you are Profit users today, so I'm going to kind of go a little bit slow on the functionality side just to help with the training aspect of it. This is being recorded. Any registered participants will actually automatically get an email with the recording in it tomorrow. So let's get started here. Just by way of a little bit more background, our company has been at this quite a while. We kind of pioneered the whole idea of CRM and Outlook, have been very successful in our niche. Main thing is trying to make it easy to use, but even the easiest to use CRM needs a little bit of training. So that's one of the things we're doing today. I've been with the company well over 15 years now and helped very close to 1,000 companies start with Profit and grow their business with Profit, which is actually what I really enjoy. I also hold a couple of US patents and another one pending in this whole area of sales automation and CRM technology. And I've got a lot of viewers on my both Outlook and CRM webinars on YouTube. Feel free to check it out. I think you'll find some interesting content there. The main thing about a CRM of any sort is to help you do a number of things: get organized, be more efficient, and also help you answer key questions about your business or about your activities. Like, what did you do last week? How many activities were generated? How many calls did you make? Anything like that you might want to find, or if you're in the leadership or management role, you might set KPIs and goals and things like that. But activity, of course, is one of the things that Profit CRM will help you track. Maybe you want to track how much business you're booking, how much potential business you have in your pipeline, how long it takes to close business, your sales cycle. You might want to forecast your revenue so that you can predict your incomes more effectively. Might be interested in what rate that you convert leads and opportunities. How many activities does it take to get a deal, and things like that. And I like to say that CRM would be really easy except for one thing, and we're going to focus a lot on this topic today, and that is data. Be easy except for this one thing. But data is just raw information, and as we start organizing it, it becomes more useful information. And then as we get it further, categorized, organized, and start using a system like Prophet CRM, you'll gain useful knowledge out of it. And hopefully at the end of the day, you'll start gaining some insight, which will help you make what I would call data-driven decisions, just basically good decisions based on the data that you have. One of the key concepts, and I'm going to switch over here just in a moment and start actually showing you how to do this, but it's about creating data. We're going to be creating stuff today. We're going to create a lot of stuff. We're going to create contacts, companies, opportunities. I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks for making it easy. One of the things you can do is you can create Outlook contacts in Outlook. Unless you mark them private, as you may know, they automatically become records in Profit. There's different setups and different people are set up differently, but that's one of the very common ways to do it. And guess what? The company records are created automatically. You don't even have to create the company record. If you create a contact with the company name in it, it'll create the company record for you, which is a unique type of record Outlook doesn't have, as you probably know. And then as you start creating other contacts with that company, they're all associated in that company record. And we'll be looking at that as well. A really cool function is drag and drop. functionality in Outlook. We just leverage that and allow you to create contacts from inbound emails. You can import data from Excel. You can also use that tool, the import utility, to mass update records. And then there's other ways of getting data in the system, like from your website. That can be automated. Reach out to us after this webinar if you're interested in that. Or we have a full open API, and we can integrate with hundreds and hundreds of different ERPs and accounting systems and other marketing platforms and so on. One of the key concepts, though, is what I call data taxonomy. It's just the ability and the need to capture certain characteristics of your data. Contacts, of course, are one of the key data records in Prophet, and there's these 20 unique fields. I'll show you when I'm talking about something, I'll use this little circular highlighter here. Prophet adds 20 customizable fields to the contact record, and what I mean by taxonomy, it lets you classify and categorize your contacts in different ways, so you can slice and dice and filter, create lists for outreach and email blasts and such like. So the key concept with contacts is things that you must have to make the contact useful. I got to stress this before we get too far into the actual training of this. But the things you really must have in a contact is a full name. There's nothing worse than seeing a contact that just says Bill or Susan. And you really need an email address these days. And of course, a phone number. If you had those three things, you've got a pretty decent start at a contact. But should have information would include company name if it's relevant, if they are associated with a company, obviously. Job title helps you get more granularity as to who you're talking to, their roles, responsibilities. So job title is a standard Outlook field, and you should try to capture that, along with mobile numbers, increasingly valuable these days. I see we're still getting a lot of people just joining, so I'm gonna mention again that you can ask questions through the chat control panel. This is being recorded, so you can also access it later and get the full video of it. But then there's kind of starting to be icing on the cake, like physical address. Well, very important for a lot of businesses to know the location of a contact, so that they can look at their data by region or geography. Again, create lists for outreach and that sort of thing. And then nice to have information in a contact is their LinkedIn profile. Might give you some other insight into the contacts thing, interests or other parts of their profile. And then through these customizable fields, it's often nice to be able to say, pick up the phone and call somebody and know what their hobbies are, whether they're married, whether they have pets, what are the dog's name, or whatever. And these are up to you. These are your administrator for Prophet. If you're existing Prophet user, helps you will define these. But if you have something, I'm sure you can take it to your administrator. So I'm going to just bounce out of the slide deck here and jump right into creating some data in Prophet. Ought to be a lot of fun. I think one of the more common ways that people would like to create a contact would be from an inbound email. So let me give you an example of that. It's actually pretty easy, and I'll do this fairly slow. I want to make sure everyone gets this part of it. I have an inbound email. It's from my friend Anthony. Okay. In fact, it's talking about this. Anthony wants a quotation, so that's something I obviously want to keep track of. The first step is to see if they're a contact. If they're not, create one. A simple way to do that is to grab the email, and how you do that, you just select it and left click your mouse, hold it down, and let go over your people folder down here, it's called. I'm going to show you a few little Outlook navigational things too. So by doing that, Prophet checks to see if they're already in the database. Cool. Well, in this case, Anthony is already in there, and I can see this from this preview. Look, we've got full name matches, the email, the company name, business phone, everything like that. And in this case, who our assigned users are. So I wouldn't have to create that contact. I could simply open that contact, and there we have the contact card. And then from there, I could do other things that you do in Prophet, like up in the ribbon, I could click create a contact. You might notice that I use this quick access toolbar in Outlook, and you can also put Prophet functions in this, by the way. I'm giving you a little sidebar of an Outlook function. By default, it resides up here in the top above the ribbon, and the ribbon are these tabs as you go across. That's what we call the ribbon. But all these different functions can be brought down so that it doesn't matter what tab you're in, you can see them. And you can see how I've got a lot of Outlook functions. And how you do that, you can just actually hover over any of the icons in these ribbons and say add to quick access toolbar. Handy little thing just to put it right down here in your main view. But in any event, for example, now I could, if I want, say I want to create an opportunity with that contact. taking the example of the inbound email was a request for quotation. So I either create the contact or open the contact, and then I can do various actions. I could start get email alerts when something happens with this contact. I could assign it to someone else. That I'm referring to all these different functions in the ribbon here. I could open the company. I could open the contact's custom profile, or maybe I want to just create an opportunity. And an opportunity is the default term that we use to describe tracking of potential business. So with a click, I've created an opportunity that's associated with that contact. We're going to get more into this later, but it's in stage one. Later, it'll move to the different stages and so on. But I might just call this a new lead. It's an RFQ, and this is just your description for 15 licenses in my case, but whatever describes it. And then, where the lead came from, existing relationship, website, customer referral, and other things that you might want to capture. But we're going to cover more on that later. I just wanted to show you the workflow of going from an inbound email to a contact to an opportunity. Click, click, literally. It's super easy to do. Now, let's say though that I'm going to go back and I'm going to create that. I'm going to do this again, only this time we're going to assume the contact was not a match in my database. And I'm going to grab that contact, that email rather. I'm going to drag it over my people folder and let go with my mouse. Prophet's dupe checker pops up, but let's say there wasn't a match here. I go to create a new contact, which is this button right here. Notice it's warning me that similar contact already exists, because Prophet does a lot to help prevent duplicates from occurring. So I just say create contacts, and it starts auto-filling fields here. The first name, last name, and email address are automatically filled, parsed from the inbound email, but you might find other information. Typically things like the address might be in the subject line. Notice what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to select the address by highlighting it. I'm just going to drag it over to the address. I'm going to take the company name, and I'm going to drag it up to the company, and I'll take the job title and put it in, or type it in, either way. It's just an Outlook contact. Now you can see what we're starting to do is build that Outlook contact. If you know their phone number, put it in. There you go. We've got about 5 out of 6 of the main things that we're looking for. Website, things like that you could add. But in any event, I'm just showing you that I'm creating a contact from an inbound email. Drag and drop, complete it with information if you find it in the signature, and so on. So that's one way to create a contact from an inbound email. I'm going to show you another way to create a contact, which is very useful if you want to create a contact from a company here, and I want to create another contact that's associated with that same company. You may or may not know this, but Outlook has that function, and we use it in Prophet. It's right up here in the main contact tab under the Save and New dropdown, contact from same company. And that will create, first of all, Prophet will check to see if there's any other contacts by the name you're looking for in that company. In this case, there is one other that I might look at. But let's just make a brand new contact, and you'll see how that works. I'll call it Billy Goodman here. Okay, and maybe I don't know his email, or maybe I do. I could put it in there if I wish. And maybe I know that he's at extension 5. So I can add that. Now I just click the Prophet's dupe checker allows you to then create a contact with the same company. By doing that, it'll be associated with that same company in the CRM. Now, you may or may not use categories. We do support these. You can see how I can add one or more categories to it and other things. Maybe I want to add job title. I will just say, let's just make him the sales manager today. And away we go. We've got a pretty good contact. I don't have an email. We'll get that later. Now, what has just occurred is I created a new contact from an existing one. And again, referring to the ribbon, there's a lot of ways you can access data in Prophet. You may or may not know, though, that you can go up here to the Prophet ribbon and open the company record associated with that contact, which I want to show you here because it'll show you now. There's Billy, who I just added as a contact. Here's John, Molly Goodman. I'll show you a couple little extra credit things here. I showed you the categories here a moment ago. One thing that you can do is add photos to a contact. How you do that is, first of all, you go like out on a web search and find photos of the person. You can usually just go into Google Images and start finding them. And then, you can go in and do a screen grab of whatever photo you like. So I can just do a little screen clip of that, which is exactly what I did. I saved it and my local pictures folder, and then I clicked on where is usually just that little icon, that little thing, and I added Molly Goodman as a saved photo. That's just a saved image there. So that's how you can add a photo to your Outlook contacts. And it's pretty handy because then when somebody, actually this works throughout the email, when you get an email from somebody, their photo shows up. It's just kind of nice. So you might want to add a photo. That would be for super extra credit there. But again, creating a contact is easy. You can do it from an inbound email. You can do it from another contact. Maybe you just want to create a contact manually from scratch, and that's certainly nothing wrong with that. I could go in just anywhere in Prophet where it says new and find the new contact drop down, and I'll put in John. Notice what'll happen here. It's going to find a bunch of Johns in my database, of course, very common name. But as I start typing in the last name, you're going to see that it narrows it down to the contact that I want. Now, many companies and people struggle with company names. So I'm going to start by just typing in the company name and then the contact information, because I want to make sure I get the company name correct. I just started typing in Lebowski Manufacturing, just the first few letters. And you can see they're all Lebowski Manufacturing Corp. And since there are contacts with that company already, I could do what I showed you earlier. Pretty awesome. Anyway, creating contacts is easy. Creating companies happens automatically when you create contacts. They get associated together. And I want to give you just a little navigation of Prophet here as we go through the primary functions then of contact and account management. And we'll get into some of that data taxonomy. First of all, folders. Outlook folders are on your left, inbox, sent items, deleted items. You might have many others. Prophet folders by default show up down in your folder list, and they're just called Contact Manager, Company Manager, and Opportunity Manager by default. But did you know you can change the names of these folders, even Prophet folders? Some people call this, for example, a lead tracker instead of Opportunity Manager. So I'm just on that folder. I right click and say rename folder. The little dashes and arrow are just keyboard functions. I kind of like the way it kind of makes the folder stand out a little bit, but you wouldn't have to do that. But I could just go in here and make that folder my lead tracker instead of Opportunity Manager. And you can see how the folder name changed. So again, folder navigation, the way they get up on the top under my inbox is I've added them as a favorite. You can take any folder, including the Prophet folders, and right click on it and say add to favorites, and it just simply brings it up to the top above all your other folders that you might have. So just a little tip for setting yourself up for that. Now let's get into some what do you do with contact management and Prophet? Well, first of all, I want to get your mind around the idea of creating lists, views we call them. And views are nothing more than lists filtered a certain way. I'm in a list here called Hollywood Contacts, and you can see where I'm pointing here. I have a lot of different lists or views that I've created here. One of them is filtered by the geography. If you look in this list here, you can see all of these are in Hollywood, California, zip code 90210. That's the filter that I've got on this list. If I added a new contact that met those criteria, you would see it. There's a little edit button here. It's called edit this view. Kind of looks like a red pen and a piece of paper. You can edit your view further from here. If you wanted to add additional filters, for example, you can do that either on the fly by clicking on this edit button, but I'll show you what these filters look like once you've set them up. I've got 3 filters, and notice they can be either set up to be all conditions are true. We call that an AND filter, or any condition are true. That's called an OR filter. And just think, you need to think of that as you create your lists, and whether you want them to have to match all 3 criteria or any one of the 3 criteria. In any event, I could add other filters by just going down here and clicking on maybe job title. And that might equals, by the way, these are called comparators. And there's a lot of standard comparators, equals, not equals, less than, greater than, and equal to, starts with, ends with, contains, and so on. I usually use the term contains if it's something that you might not want to, might be just minor spelling changes in the job title or something. But there you go. I could add a filter that is everyone in Hollywood, California that's got CEO in their job title. Let's just do that for the fun of it. So out of 36 contacts in Hollywood, 11 of them are CEOs. You can see it in the column. Now, these columns are an important concept because this is sort of laid out intentionally like an Excel spreadsheet, as you can see. Now, in the case of Prophet, it's a centrally shared Excel spreadsheet of contact data in this particular case. But these columns are just the field names. Many of them are just the fields in Outlook: first name, last name, email address, and so on. But there's also, Prophet adds these customizable fields, which you can also put in your view and use them for sorting and filtering. One typical example is type of contact. Now, again, you guys have, most of the folks on the call today, or at least a good many of you, are existing clients, so you already have this set up. But this is very useful, so I can create a view of all of a certain type of contact. On the right, you can see maybe you want to know if they're married, what their hobbies are. Role might be different than title. Where did the lead come from? What industry are they in? And a variety of things. So these fields then can be put in as columns in your list. If I scroll to the right, I already have a bunch of them in there. Maybe I just want to put a field a little farther in my left so it shows up. Like maybe I want to move job title over. I can just drag and drop it. I can move hobbies over and so on, and basically customizing this view. If you want to add other fields, you right click while you're in that list and you just say choose columns, and it'll bring up the column chooser. So again, the columns are nothing more than the fields that are in the database in the left. They're all of the fields available in the contact database. On the right are the ones I've selected. By moving them up, you move them to the left in your view. So you can edit a view that way as well. Add columns. When you've made changes to a view and you want to save them, you just right click and say save changes to view, or hit F12, which is the shortcut. Simple things, but then the question is, what do I want to do with this list? Okay, let's use that filtering just a little bit more. Let's say that I want all of my contacts that are CEOs in Hollywood, California, and they're all current clients. So I check that little, it's like an Excel filter, and I'm just going to check one of these current clients. So now I'm narrowing this down. Started with 36 contacts in Hollywood. Then I went down to 11 of them are CEOs. And out of those, I'm adding yet another filter. 5 of them are CEOs that are current clients. Now we're starting to get somewhere. What if I wanted to do an outreach of, let's just say I wanted to do an outreach of, say, to all of my current clients in Hollywood, California, and I want to reach out to the CEOs. There I have it. I can right click and say send a group email or do a mailing. Mailing just launches the Microsoft Word mailing function, not used as much anymore. But I'm going to show you this function here that's called the group email function. It's very useful. You can use it in any list in Prophet, and what it does is it creates a personalized Outlook email to everyone on the list that you've highlighted. So I'm going to go ahead and engage that. Again, I just created a list. I highlighted some or all of them with my keyboard. Right click, and I'm going to say send group email. This just creates a recipient list. You can change it to a text-only email if you choose. I usually do HTML for, logos and stuff. And then you choose your salutation to personalize it, like hello first name, hi first name. Dear title last name would be like Dear Mrs. Smith or what have you. I'll just do hello first name. You can give it an importance. By the way, that little high importance button there will mark a red exclamation point on the person's inbound email when they see it. Then you simply say create email. The very first one is just your content creation. You could simply just type this email in, just like you were typing an email to someone, or you could use one of the really cool functions in Outlook called they're templates. Outlook 365 has templates over here, which you can create and use, which are great because what they do, those templates migrate, they show up on all your different computers. That's the way the cloud system works with Office 365. So that's a pretty handy template. And as you can see, I can just choose that content and insert it there. But there's another way that you can insert templates. Let me show you another way, and that it has a little different nuance to it, and that these templates are called quick parts, and they can be brought up from a keyword. And for example, maybe you have an email that you've sent, 1,000 times, and you just want to call it up using a keyword. And that's here, it's called quick parts. So each of these has a keyword. And if I type in the word, agenda, it's going to create an agenda for me. And again, it just predicts what you're going to put in there. So these are template type of content. All I'm doing is I'm showing you that I'm actually just creating an email there. It's predicting that I want to use thanks for my interest template. Maybe make that the subject line and click send. Now everyone on that list is going to get this personalized email from me. However, what first happens is when I click send, the first one goes out. I could then go inspect it in my sent items. Just double check if you want. I know it's a good email now though. So I'm going to just click send and the rest of these will go. Bear in mind that this group email function in Prophet is not intended to be what I would call mass emails. First of all, they're not. They're individually sent to everyone on that list. And so it's usually people people you're already in some dialogue with that you use this for. There's no exact limit on how many of those emails you can include in a batch, but they take about a half second or so to process each one of them. So not practical to usually try to do 1,000 of them or even many hundreds. I usually do email blasts of 50, 100, in that range. But it's really nice because when the recipient gets it, they actually see just an Outlook email that came from you personally to them. And I'll just show you what they look like here. So the ones that I just sent, you'll see in my sent items here. And here we go. So there you go. There's the email that I just sent out to everybody on that list. Now, one key thing is because it's just an Outlook email from you to them, it doesn't end up in that dreaded other folder or your spam box usually, because it's a single Outlook email. You know what I'm talking about in Outlook 2019 and Outlook 365, there's this thing called other and focused email. Other are probably spam is kind of the idea. You don't want to end up there automatically. So anyway, contact management is a key part of Prophet. Creating contacts is easy. And another thing you can do is you can, let me just refresh this view and I'll show you the lower set of functions in the contact manager here. And I am keeping my eye on my chat box there to see if there's any, let's go back into, let's do Hollywood contacts again. So all of these are just lists that I've created in here, as you can see, and I can navigate between views. And then what you can do is you can do things like prospecting. So let's say that I wanted to go in and start making some notes about people here. Here I am in my, I'm going to call Justin and I didn't get him. So I just want to mark over here that I left a voicemail. These are predefined as part of the setup of Prophet. You can have as many of those as you like. I'm sure you already have a lot of them. There's defaults, but I don't have to type that in that I left a voicemail. For example, I could go into one of these contacts and make some notes from a phone call or notes from a meeting or what have you. So remember, you can type things in, but you don't have to. You can just use this quick drop down. But the one thing that I wanted to keep in, your business is probably, well, your business is either B2B or B2C or a combination of the two. So that brings us to the company manager, where most of our clients, not all of them, focus more on the B2B side. In other words, the customers are companies, not just people. So all of that same sort of thing occurs. You can create lists, slice and dice. You can save those lists by giving them a name, like, save view as Warren's accounts in Hollywood or whatever. But the main idea is logging your activities so that when you want to look back and see when was the last time you talked to this person, you can say, oh, I see that I left a note here on December 22nd, left a voicemail rather. This pane, by the way, of the lower tabs can be raised and lowered to your liking. You can also use this little arrow here. Everyone knows about that, to just raise and lower the whole tab there. So pretty handy in case you want to just scroll through a list. But one of the main concepts is just put a note in whenever you reach out to a customer or talk to a customer. All the similar things will be in the opportunity manager, which we're going to get to here in a little bit. But so notes just creates a log of notes. Somebody did an on-site visit. Here's the notes from that, left a voicemail, and so on. You can have ones like I did a quote follow-up. Maybe that's a unique activity that you want to know what you did without typing it. So time and date stamped, and because it's a centralized database, anyone with permission to view your data will be able to see your notes and vice versa. You can see people's interactions, in other words. You can see if there's any opportunities for this company. In that case, there aren't any, but I'll have a few here, I'm sure. Let's look at Anthony's. Yeah. So in this case, I can see 5 different opportunities, and I could, if I wanted to, open an opportunity from there or just look at them all. There's one that's a recent opportunity. We're going to get into opportunity management here in a moment. Then activity search, we're expanding how this works, but the idea here is that by default, all of the Prophet users out there, anyone on this call would be able to see any emails, appointments, or tasks that are in their local Outlook profile. We're adding and actually just launched a sharing function where you can, with very robust and very important permission levels, agree, share emails with other people through this interface. So you'll be seeing more on that if your people are updating to that version. Files is nothing more than a hyperlink. If I click add, it just brings up my Windows File Explorer. Perhaps I wanted to have a proposal or a quote or anything like that. All of these are basically just documents, essentially. Here's a change order form or what have you. So this is essentially a link to the document. It's not making copies of it. Most people use these days are either on OneDrive, SharePoint, or use a network drive, or maybe OneDrive or Dropbox. All those things work with this because it simply creates a hyperlink to where you're centrally storing those documents. So that's the files function, and you'll see that throughout Prophet. Sales automation is the ability to set up a series of automated follow-ups with contacts with companies or with opportunities. And the benefit of creating an automated series is that, well, let's face it, follow-up is one of the most important things in sales. And I'll show you how I set that up and use it in my opportunity function, although that it's also available in contacts and companies. So slice, dice, organize your data, get your mind around it, being able to track all the emails and appointments and tasks and notes with all of your contacts and all of your accounts. That's really what the main thing we're talking about. But another key concept is this whole time I'm literally in Outlook, and to go back and forth into Prophet, you can either just click the folder and it'll load whatever view you were last in. Some people like to open them in new windows, which you can do as well, which is an Outlook function. Like right now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 monitors in my office and 3 computers, so I can have lots of stuff going on different monitors. But you probably have two monitors anyway. So especially if you deal with large lists in Prophet, you can just keep Prophet open in a different monitor over there. Pretty awesome. So let's get into this whole idea of opportunities, of how to create opportunities. What they are and how to manage your opportunities. So creating an opportunity it can be very easy. You just simply go into one of your views here and select a list that you want to maybe go into and start working on. And then from there, you simply select the contact that you want. And even right here, I can create a new opportunity with this contact very easily. While I've got it highlighted, I just go up to this new button. It's a real easy way to do it. And it just creates a new opportunity with that contact. And all contacts in your database, you can easily create contacts with any one of them. It'll link that contact to it. I could add others to this opportunity if I want. In the contact tab, the third one over from the left there, let me do that slower. Here I have created a new opportunity. You might first give it a description, lead from trade show or something, whatever. And it's an act by default. It's going to be active and it's in stage 1. Maybe you want to add some other, these are all customizable fields. You can keep track of things like probability, estimated close date, potential revenue, things like that. And then over here, you'll see that you can have different contacts. Like I could add contacts that aren't even necessarily associated with this particular company. In this case, I could change the company, do a search for, let's let's type in a different company and put somebody in it from the, oh yes, Meryl Streep's company, the Prada Devils. Let's add her to this opportunity. So in other words, they don't have to be with the same company, but they might be part of the opportunity. If you have a business where that's common, you'll find that very useful. You know, subcontractors, bankers, investors, or whoever you want to put on here, people that might influence the deal in one way or another. And then while you don't have to use them all in the templates, there are other fields, and a very good one is, where did the lead come from? You know, was it prospecting? Was it the lost art of cold calling? Was it a referral from a customer or what have you? Maybe type of sales if you track it different ways. And these other fields are things like that you might want to track. And I got to point out this one here, lost. Um, you know, you might put in the reasons that that you've heard from prospects that why you didn't get the business. You can go back and study that. These fields throughout what I'm showing you throughout Profit can be drop down lists, memo fields, which are like an expanded text field. They can be date fields, or they can be simple text fields or numeric. So it kind of depends on how you want your data to be organized. But an opportunity is basically one of the key functions of Profit. So think back where we started here, and to kind of get reoriented. I'm going to just kind of reiterate something here. I'm going to go to the very beginning here and make sure we're covering the ground here. What we're really doing is we're helping you show you how to use Profit to do contact and account management. Now we're on sales pipeline management. And of course, that's all really critical when it comes to business. So once you've got this opportunity created, you save and close or move to the next one, and away you go. Now, by creating an opportunity with any one of these, you'll now start seeing those opportunities in your opportunity manager, which I call my lead tracker now because I changed the name of it, and under the contact or under the company. But here's the opportunity I just made, for example, and it's in my sales pipeline now. The other thing you can do is create opportunity manager lists. So I have one, all of my Hollywood projects is one of my favorite, my list. These are kind of like pipelines within your pipeline or whatever. I get asked a lot, can I create a whole bunch of different folders for Profit? Well, not really. They're all generically going to involve contacts, companies, or some form of an opportunity. And then within that folder, you create the relevant lists, like all the deals you're closing this month. Hopefully a lot out there. Hopefully you have a really bang up year. It's December here. Proposal stage deals and so on. You can look at other people's pipeline if you have that permission. But essentially what we're doing here is we're managing our pipeline, and one of the things is managing them by key criteria. What are some of those key criteria? Well, potential revenue would be an obvious one. Notice, just like in Excel, how I can sort by any column. I'll do that again. I'm going to sort by revenue, so it's largest on top. I can then, in the opportunity manager, since there's potential revenue a lot of the times, you can select, like if I wanted to look at my top 10 opportunities, I could just select them with my keyboard, and down below here, those top 10 opportunities are worth $9.6 million. Not bad. I wish I had that pipeline actually. I'll show you some more on that. That's looking good, but I sorted it by revenue. You can also move columns around just like we did in the other views. Drag and drop, add, right click, choose columns. So you can customize these views. And when you create a view that you like, you can say save that view as and give it a name. Then it shows up in your list here. So I'm going to show you how to filter this. So I've sorted it by potential revenue. Now I might want to filter it down so that I only see, say, deals that have reached some advanced stage. Again, like an Excel filter, I just click on that little funnel icon, brings up my filter, and maybe I want to uncheck and say I only want to see deals that have reached stage 4 or higher. So out of those 33 deals, I have 17 of them that have reached that level, that penetration level. Maybe I want to see only those that have reached stage 5. Just uncheck a filter. So I'm just showing you that you can add filters to this. In fact, as many as you want. So you can say, I want to look at only certain types of leads that have a proposal that are active, right? So I can go in here and pick a few different types of leads and narrow that down even further. So by adding filters, we're reducing the number of records in that view, of course. Want to email blast that particular list, you can do that. Right click, send group email. I showed you that before, but same idea. This time we're sending it to a list of opportunities. I'm going to include a salutation. Hi, hello, first name. Do the same thing, create email. Now in this case, everyone on this list is going to get an email related to the fact that they're, in proposal stage. Maybe I have some kind of special deal to offer them or something. And I just wanted to reach out to those 5 or 10 or 20 or whatever opportunities. So that's some of the basics of opportunity management, is really just think about getting organized around your contacts, your customers, and your opportunities. And really in doing that, you're going to get a lot of value, I think, out of this system. Now, let's get into reporting. Well, while we're in a simple list view, the first and simplest type of report is just being able to export to Excel. It's always there. You can export all rows in a list or just the selected ones. And by selecting that little green Excel button and clicking the button, it'll generate an Excel report essentially of that exact view that you're in. Useful partially because people usually already know how to run Excel. Use it every day a lot of times. So we make it really easy to get your data in Excel. It's also a common question I get from prospects that ask, well, how do I get my data out of here if I want to? Well, you can export it to Excel anytime you want. That's one way. We also have an API, and you could have your IT people use that if you wanted. But the data is yours. It's all housed in a secure data center, by the way. Very secure. It's kind of like the Fort Knox of the data world. But anyway, most people have us host it for them. We don't charge for that, by the way, even though there is an on-premise version. So my point is, it's easy to get a list report in Excel. You could be in any one of the list views in Prophet. You can export it to Excel. But there's 2 other types of reports. Up here in the Tools button, there's going to be a number of reports, up in the scratch that. You're in the reports. We're in reports, not tools. Reports button. You just click that button and it'll bring up this tool that is a report generator and a report writer. It'll come generically with 7 categories of reports and a bunch of predefined ones. I find them to be a little bland, so I'll customize mine. I'll show you a little bit about that. But let's just say you wanted to look at your pipeline. One of the common things that we would do to run a report. And there's these parameters that you can sort and filter by. You sort, maybe you want to sort it by, revenue, largest to smallest. Maybe you want to put in whatever date range that you want to look at here. You can then add other filters if you wish by accounts or some other criteria, but let's make a simple report out of this and just show you what one of the basic reports look like. This is a pipeline report. This is, I've added our logo and changed colors, moved things around a little bit, but it's one of the standard reports, pipeline by stage. And one of the benefits of this is you can at a glance see how many deals are in each stage. And while this is a pretty basic report, it's actually very useful because it shows you how well you're moving your opportunities or your leads through the sales process, through the pipeline. And it becomes a very useful thing to look at, at a sales meeting. Pretty healthy pipeline there, Warren, if I do say so myself. But anyway, you can see some summary information. I'm going to show you a little bit about how that was formatted. So we just ran a report that is already in my list here. But before, what I did is I went into one of the standard reports like this one, and I hit the designer button, and I did a few things like change the colors. Now it takes a little adult supervision, this tool, but you can't hurt anything too bad because you can always re-import the report. But let's say I wanted to change that to green. Let's say I wanted to change that logo. It's the image button over on the right. And there, I don't know who that was, but I'm going to go into my pictures. Oh yeah, that was one of my contact photos. Let's go into my graphics. So I'm in my computer now, and I'm like just choosing a logo, as you can see. You can see that I can choose this logo or that one. Anyway, they all show up here. If they're too big, you can obviously see that. So you select whatever logo that's been sized appropriately. Let's just put that little one in there. So here we have a logo that we've added to the report. Pretty awesome. So now I can save those changes. And when we run that report, you'll see that those changes have been made, and we can then, it'll also remember your last settings on these reports. Pretty cool little tool. It's not the end all be all of report writers, but it's pretty handy. So anyway, there's the report with those edits that I made into it using that designer tool. You can create your own reports here using this wizard. You just go click the wizard button. You choose your department. You probably have only maybe, I don't know how many you have, but choose the department you're in typically, give the report a name, and it goes into a column chooser where you choose the fields you want. And once you've done that and given it a name, that report will show up in your list of reports as a custom report that you've created. So whatever you've called it, it would just show up right here. And again, it's not going to be really fancy when you first create it. It'll just be black and white, look something like this, and you can add your colors and logo and whatnot in it. You can run these reports into Excel, or just the basic means that you can then save it as, like I was doing here. If I ran this report in basic, I could save it as PDF, RTF, which allows you to use it in Microsoft Word, or Excel or text, and a number of different things. It's just a document saving thing there. So that's how you would use the report manager. We're going to wrap up today, spending the last 10 minutes or so going through. First of all, I want to double check, see if we have any questions coming in. No, people are getting ready for the holidays, I can tell. Very well behaved group today. And I want to remind you at the end, I'm going to post all our full contact information. We're having fun today though, right? What better thing to do? All right, let's talk about the analytics function. Analytics is something that you can launch in Prophet through the analytics button here. And you'll see that it brings up 4 different types of reports. I'll do a live demonstration of that. One of the reports that this will bring up is your sales pipeline. And this is my, it says, you'll see that these three out of the box reports: pipeline. And you can see that these are all the filters that I can filter by department or status or stage or by users. I can go in and just select certain criteria here. Like I can just start going down my list here and selecting certain stages, let's just say, and I'll just do a few of those just to kind of show you how it builds the report. So as I start selecting or deselecting these filters, you can see how the display changes. So it'll be very useful to see your conversion rates, how much you've won, how many you've got in your pipeline, and all of that sort of thing. And these little vignettes up here will show you trend lines and so forth. You can change the date range by simply using the slider up here on the upper left, and it's all real-time data. The next one is the activity report. By the way, you may or may not have this enabled in Prophet. You may have to reach out to us, and if it's something you want to get set up on, it's part of most plans, price-wise, not all, but it's certainly available. And you can see things like activities by user, activities by customer type, activities by things like that. And you can also see things like records created, how many contacts were created, how many opportunities were created, very important stuff. Maybe you have KPIs or metrics that you might want to look at, where they were geographically concentrated or located. Over here with this little mapping function. And a really interesting thing in Prophet is we use a little bit of fuzzy logic, kind of approaching AI, that helps group contacts by job function, kind of extrapolating from title and some things. But, are you getting new contacts that are manager level, VP level, director level, owner, or are you getting, whatever is below that? Important to know. It's just something that you might want to be aware of as you capture your contacts and make your outreach. So that concludes today's webinar. I'm going to post our contact information here, as I had said, and feel free to reach out to us or our team at any time. I'm always happy to help clients, but we have a team of people called Customer Success. You might want to keep that handy. And again, this video was recorded, and I want to thank everybody today for joining us on another tour of Prophet CRM. Be safe today. Stay well, prosper in your business, and hopefully you'll have a good time with your family and friends here. Talk to you next time. Thanks again.